is Joe Klein. I'm a security researcher, or as some people call me, a scientific hooligan. I've been focused on IPv6 as a both job and as a hobby to look at the security implications for the last 10 years.
What a pleasure to meet you. What is the main message of your presentation today?
The main message is that IPv6 is a security empowerment technology which helps us defend ourselves better than a IPv4 only environment. In today's presentation, we talked about methods using the resilience technology and how it applies to IPv6 and how you can apply it to identify attackers as they're attempting to break into your system and give you a lot of lead time to identify such attacks.
Excellent, excellent. What advice do you have for future IPv6 professionals?
Number one, get trained. Attend events, become part of the community, go into the gogoNET service social network, start asking questions. I answer and ask a lot of questions myself on there, and a lot of my peers do. Pick up a couple books if you're interested in security. Scott Hogue does one. Sylvia does a great book if you want a hands-on type book. There's a lot of opportunities to really grow into a technology that's going to be critical for most of your future.
Excellent, excellent. What are some of the most important takeaways that you'd like for the viewers to receive from your presentation today?
Oh, well, you just mentioned one, which is training. Training is really critical. The IPv4 thought process you may not be aware of, but it basically negatively impacts the security for IPv6 in many cases. So understanding this technology is very, very critical. The second part is making sure that you have the right products that are tested, not just from an interoperability and a performance standpoint, but also that there's been real security testing performed on it. In addition, that there are some really amazing methods that you can use to defend yourself, identify systems, identify the attacker that's coming at you. Another thing we discussed is there seems to be a lack of vendors having the capability of doing blacklisting. During my presentation, I discussed what that method is so that you can map IPv4, IPv6, and even geolocate the IPv6 addresses based on the way it's configured. So those are really important for many different organizations. We also talked about some of the failings of IPv4 with its models of its really castle-type mentality, where we attempt to build walls and then walls upon walls and then walls upon walls and upon walls. We're really an integration of the biological models that we use today, that our bodies use, are more adaptive to the type of attacks that we're seeing, mostly because software developers and others can't get patches out fast enough. They really can't do that, and really a lot of those are monolithic systems. They're a different class of wall. But some of these new technologies, techniques are really critical to defend and make your organization defensible. Another item we talked about was the different studies and how the studies are non-measurable. Specifically, we've seen a lot of studies about compromises of organizations via IPv6. Most organizations are not even aware, because they don't have the instrumentation on their systems to say, yes, it's in fact IPv6, no, it's not in fact. If the viewer had that kind of knowledge, they would be able to help their organization identify it. But many times we don't. I also discussed that the first compromise took place in 2001 of an IPv6 network. So this is a long-term issue that may have just been considered a problem or something that they were not aware of, that really is critical for them to fix. Lastly, that the new security model for IPv6 really depends on trust. It really fortifies the trust model. In IPv4, we have a tendency to trust all the systems around us, and we have a tendency to trust our router. In the IPv6 model, the most secure model, we really don't have a level of trust unless we can verify the devices around us. We don't have a level of trust on the upstream router unless we can validate this. This one issue would help mitigate a lot of attacks against SSL, wireless Wi-Fi attacks. Just this one set of technologies would be very greatly appreciated to mitigate and detect things like malware as an indicator. So there's a lot of very good features within IPv6 that can make your operation a lot more secure. One last point, which I guess would be the 7th point, is that as soon as possible, move to not just a dual stack environment, which is IPv4 and IPv6, but attempt to move to a IPv6 only environment in some organizations. This becomes really valuable because most of the malware out there today is IPv4 only. So if an individual pulls up a web page via v6 proxy, and all of a sudden you start seeing traffic that's v4 coming from that machine, it becomes a very good indicator that that machine was compromised. So very quickly you can go and resolve it. Today it's very difficult to find that particular compromised system unless it takes a lot of work and a lot of time.
Thank you very much.